What's up everyone and welcome back to the MMA Zone. Today, let's get started with Joe Rogan reacts to UFC USADA split. The UFC's decision to part ways with USADA has continued to spark conversations around the MMA community as everyone prepares for the start of the drug-free sport international era in the UFC. During a recent episode of the Joe Rogan Experience, the longtime UFC commentator shared his thoughts on the split, as well as comments made by USADA insinuating that the UFC is trying to protect Conor McGregor from being subject to the full extent of drug testing.
They really f***ed up. They said they were doing it for Conor McGregor, so they could get Conor McGregor and not have to test him.
What did they do?
That's what they insinuated.
Trying to make Dana look bad.
Which is not true because Conor McGregor entered into the USADA pool and supplied 2 tests so far. So they're wrong. The problem was they were waking guys up at 6:30 in the morning on their weigh-in day. They were doing crazy like that, trying to get samples day of the fight.
In alignment with what Rogan stated, UFC fighter Sodiq Yusuff alleged that the USADA official who arrived to test him made him use the bathroom in front of him, writing, "USADA man told me he had to wash me today. What are we doing?" According to longtime veteran Cub Swanson, however, Yusuff's experience was nothing out of the ordinary. As Swanson wrote, "This is standard. Once they come in contact with you, they can't let you out of their sight until they collect a sample." So far, it's unclear whether Drug Free Sport International will have a similar policy. Next up, let's take a look at Justin Gaethje demanding title shot next. Justin Gaethje believes that Charles Oliveira missed his chance to get revenge on Islam Makhachev at UFC 294. After the former lightweight champ was forced out of the scheduled scrap on short notice, Gaethje thinks that it's time for Makhachev to defend the belt against an opponent he hasn't faced before. While speaking backstage at the UFC 294 post-fight show, Gaethje made his case for the next crack at the belt.
I think it should absolutely. I mean, I'm number 2. You know, I knocked out Poirier. I mean, Charles Oliveira is ahead of me, but you know, he obviously already lost to Makhachev. I have not fought Makhachev. It's a fresh matchup, a new matchup, and I think that's what the fans are looking for. I think he would have dominated Oliveira just the same. Oliveira beat me. MMA math doesn't work. I've said he's not Khabib, but I think he might be, so I just want to go out there and figure it out.
According to Dana White, however, the UFC will likely look to reschedule a rematch between Makhachev and Oliveira next, meaning Gaethje will likely have to wait until that fight plays out before getting his crack at the belt. As he explained to media members following UFC 294,
listen, you got to give it to Oliveira. I mean, Oliveira was ready to go. Unfortunately, got cut. Yeah, I think you give it to Oliveira. But again, these are all questions that I really can't answer right now.
So far, there's been no news on when the potential rematch could take place. However, with Makhachev emerging from UFC 294 unscathed, a rematch could wind up happening in early 2024 once Oliveira heals up. Next up, let's take a look at Dana White goes off on UFC Doctor. While UFC 294 delivered an action-packed card for fight fans, the event wasn't without controversy. On the main card, an illegal knee from Magomed Ankalaev forced the referee to pause the action. However, rather than Walker using the full time to recover before a decision was made on whether the fight should continue, the ringside physician wasted little time before assessing the light heavyweight. After the fight was called off and UFC officials regained control of the situation while preventing a brawl nearly taking place, Dana White spoke with media members about what transpired.
Yeah, listen, the guy's inexperienced. He got up in it. I think there's a lot of things that probably happened. I guess he asked him, "Where are you right now?" And his response was, "I'm in the desert." He's not wrong. I think there's a big language barrier in there between the two of them, inexperience, and you know, just it sucks. It's one of those things that happens sometimes, and we'll make it right and we'll fix it.
White notably did not confirm whether or not the promotion would be rebooking the pair for an immediate rematch. However, assuming Walker didn't sustain any injuries from the illegal knee, expect both he and Ankalaev to want to return to action sooner rather than later. Now, let's shift gears and take a look at Alexander Volkanovski reveals sad news. When Charles Oliveira withdrew from his scheduled UFC 294 clash with Islam Makhachev, featherweight kingpin Alexander Volkanovski didn't hesitate to step in. After suffering the first stoppage loss of his UFC career, Volkanovski opened up to media members about some mental health struggles that he had been going through prior to stepping in on short notice.
Again, like he's not somebody you should be taking a short notice with, but I needed it. Again, obviously a lot of people will say it's for the money and all that, but it was much more than that. Like, you know what I mean? It is hard. Like, it really is hard for athletes. Sorry. I never thought I'd struggle with it, but I mean, like, for some reason, when I wasn't fighting or in camp, I was just doing my head in, you know what I mean? I needed a fight, and then this opportunity come up, and, you know, I'll be honest, I wasn't training as much as I should have, but I thought I had to, you know, I had to do it. I had to take it. I thought it would be...
While fans express concern that the featherweight champ may be going through hardships in his personal life, that isn't the case. Volkanovski made it clear that he has a beautiful family waiting for him at home. However, without having a targeted date for a fight, he doesn't feel like he's checking all the boxes that make him who he is. Despite the knockout loss, Volkanovski is targeting a January return to the octagon to defend his featherweight belt against Ilia Topuria. With the UFC 297 card still several months away, it's unclear whether or not the UFC will grant him the quick turnaround, or keep him on the sidelines for a little longer so he can recover. Next, let's take a look at Kamaru Usman WON against Khamzat. The UFC 294 co-main event clash between Khamzat Chimaev and Kamaru Usman delivered plenty of action, with both fighters having moments of success throughout the three-round affair. Although Kamaru Usman stepped in on short notice, he was able to make things competitive with the undefeated contender, despite losing a majority decision. After the fight, many members of the MMA community questioned the decision, given that although Chimaev had control time in the third round, he didn't inflict any overwhelming amount of damage on his opponent like the scoring criteria prioritizes. Justin Gaethje took to social media after the fight, indicating that he's eagerly awaiting the start of AI scoring, while writing, 2 10-8s? Get these fucking guys out of here. When does AI start judging fights? These humans are incompetent. Backstage, Kamaru Usman explained to Megan O'Leary that he felt as though, with another 2 rounds, he would have been able to get the job done.
You know, I kept coming off the couch in 10 days and fighting a young, hungry bull like that, who's big and strong, you know, has had a year and a half to really grow into this weight class. And I didn't, and I think, you know, I didn't trust my shape. I'm a championship fighter, and you can't start slow like that. You know, I say give me a couple extra rounds. I think the world knows what that result might be.
While Usman set his sights on a targeted date with Dricus du Plessis at UFC 300, Chimaev is expected to get the next crack at middleweight champion Sean Strickland. Despite that, the champ doesn't feel as though Chimaev deserves a crack at the belt based on Saturday's performance. As he explained on UFC Fight Pass following the event,
to me, he's a paycheck. He sells a lot of fights, people paying to watch, but he hasn't earned it, doesn't deserve it. But here we are, give it to him. He sells a lot of fights. I'll go fight the man for 5 rounds. But no, he has not earned it. He doesn't deserve it. And getting a decision with a welterweight off a couch is not earning it.
While a clash between Chimaev and Strickland is expected to take place in 2024, Chimaev reportedly believes he broke his hand in the first round, meaning a fight between he and Strickland may have to wait until he gets medically cleared to fight. Next, let's take a look at UFC fighter appealing no contest at UFC 294. Javid Basharat wasn't too happy with his fight against Victor Henry at UFC 294 being declared a no contest after a low blow rendered Henry unable to continue. After the fight, Basharat took to Instagram, writing, "I won by TKO today, 100%. I tried to give the benefit of the doubt, but I know what I felt in there, and watching it over 1,000 times, there was no way that was low. I made the veteran quit. I'm the boogeyman of this division. I will be appealing this ASAP." While Basharat has remained adamant that he didn't hit Henry below the belt, Henry's coach Josh Barnett has continued to defend his fighter online, calling out Basharat for 3 low blows in the fight. According to Barnett, Henry was forced to undergo an ultrasound on the affected area. However, according to Barnett, the team has already asked for a rematch so the two can settle their unfinished business. Of course, in regard to the appeal, it seems unlikely that the no contest will be overturned. Ordinarily, a fighter would appeal a result to the commission. However, on Fight Island, the UFC acts as their own commission, leaving Basharat's path forward unclear at this time. Next, let's take a look at Dillon Danis headed to the UFC? In the wake of his loss to Logan Paul, news has now surfaced that Bellator MMA has released Dillon Danis from his contract. The news comes amid an uncertain time for Bellator, with reports indicating that the promotion will likely be sold before the end of the year. For Dillon Danis, the news of his release has created quite a bit of uncertainty for the grappler. Following his loss to Paul, Danis indicated that he would be joining the UFC next, sparking quite a bit of conversation around the MMA community as many fans and fighters question how realistic the idea was. This weekend, Danis has doubled down on his plan to join the UFC. In a tweet posted on Saturday, the day of UFC 294, Danis alluded to unfinished business with Islam Makhachev, firing off a scathing shot at the lightweight champ before then following it up with another tweet in which he wrote, "We about to make a lot of money, Dana White." So far, it's remained unclear whether the UFC is interested in signing Danis. However, given that he's just 2-0 as a professional and has not fought in 4 years, it seems likely that he would have to win on the regional scene before earning a contract with the promotion. Khamzat Chimaev gets exposed by the MMA community after his recent comments on the post-fight interview at UFC 294. He claimed to want peace in the conflict going on with Palestine, but later posted a photo with the Chechen warlord Ramzan Kadyrov. Here's what the MMA community had to say. His speech and his language was the exact opposite of his English speech. He's a two-faced terrorist supporter, shaking my head. The evening of his fight, Khamzat was welcomed in Chechnya by Ramzan Kadyrov, who gave him a Mercedes G-Class for his victory. He has family in Chechnya. I don't think it's optional for him like it was for Usman and Justin to go to Kadyrov's son's birthday. Remember, even Fedor's daughter got beat up when he criticized Kadyrov. The man is a demon with a human skin disease. He has just won the most important fight of his life, and his first post is Ramzan Kadyrov. He even took his children into his corner. I swear to you, this is a cry for help. We must help Khamzat Chimaev. Top comments. Conor suddenly became the wrestling expert. Conor McGregor did 14 fouls while versing Khabib. The fact he's talking about rules is mind-blowing. The poor guy's still bitter and in pain since Khabib smashed him. Every McGregor fan is just like his leg, snapping for no reason. To talk about fence grabs with hands and feet, look at Usman against Chimaev. Happened from second round till the end. Otherwise, I think he would have got submitted by Chimaev if he didn't keep grabbing that fence. Take a look. Make sure to leave a comment and you might get featured in our next video. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed, make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications to never miss any MMA news. Check out our video from yesterday if you missed it. See you tomorrow.